co-members list reassuring a rise agenda. Plus, Zelensky sacks ambassador to UK after critics. Details of these stories and more in a moment. First in the news tonight, President Bola Tinubu has emphasized his unwavering dedication to ensuring that the Nigerian armed forces are well equipped to effectively carry out their duty of safeguarding the lives and property of citizens within the country and beyond. Speaking at the graduation ceremony of the Senior Course 45 of the Command and Staff College in Jaji today, President Tinubu highlighted the critical importance of addressing the sensitive nature of the present security landscape. He stressed that novel strategies and modern equipment are essential to counter contemporary and emerging security threats in the West African sub-region. President Tinubu expressed the urgent need for collaboration among member nations to bring about peace in the Lake Chad region, which is grappling with various security challenges. Assuring the public, the president pledged his administration's commitment to deploying the full range of state power to ensure the adequate security of the people and their possessions. Meanwhile, Bola Tinubu has approved the extension of the Infrastructure Support Fund (ISF) for the 36 states of the Federation as part of measures to cushion the effects of the petrol subsidy removal in the country. This was disclosed in a statement by the presidential spokesman Dele Alaki, saying the approval followed the monthly meeting of the Federation Account Allocation Committee (FAC) in Abuja. The new infrastructure fund will enable the states to intervene and invest in the critical areas of transportation, including farm-to-market road improvements, agriculture encompassing livestock and ranching solutions, health with a focus on basic health care, education, especially basic education, power and water resources that will improve economic competitiveness, create jobs and deliver economic prosperity for Nigerians. Dele said the committee also resolved to save a portion of the monthly distributable proceeds to minimize the impact of the increased revenues occasioned by the subsidy removal and exchange rate unification on money supply, as well as inflation and the exchange rate. Away from that, now the federal government, through the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, has said it will release a list of illegal, unregistered digital loan apps operating in Nigeria. It also said it would delist 2 legal registered loan apps from Google Play Store for harassing Nigerians. In a statement signed by the Executive Vice Chairman and Chief Executive Officer Babatunde Irukere, the FCCPC said the Commission has also placed digital money lenders that have refused or failed to register under the guidelines on its watch list for strict surveillance and necessary action. Meanwhile, the State Commissioner for Agriculture and Forestry, Olayato Aribo, has disclosed that the federal government will spend more than 200 million naira on the distribution of inputs to farmers in the state and 200 million naira on the distribution of assets through the Fadama 3 project. This, he said, was in line with the government's commitment to improving the farmers' productivity by giving them free implements to work with through the Nigeria COVID-19 Action Recovery and Economic Stimulus Program. Aribo disclosed this at the distribution of barbecue equipment to 50 jobless persons in the state who have been trained in the art of barbecue production. In the meantime, the federal government, through the Federal Ministry of Education, has increased the school fees of new students into federal government colleges, otherwise known as Federal Unity Colleges, to 100,000 naira. The federal government revealed this in a directive from the Office of the Director of Senior Secondary Education Department of the Federal Ministry of Education, addressed to all principals of Federal Unity Colleges. According to the circular entitled Signed According to the circular signed by the Director of Senior Secondary Education, Hajia Binta Abdul Kader, new students are expected to part with 100,000 naira instead of the previous 45,000 naira. Meanwhile, the latest fees and charge increment will affect virtually all aspects and activities of the school, including tuition and boarding fees, uniform, textbooks, deposits, exercise books, prospectus, caution fee, ID card, stationery, clubs and societies, sports, extra lessons, and insurance. From the Red Chambers now, where Nigerian Senate has called on the Transmission Company of Nigeria (TCN) and the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission (NERC) to immediately suspend the World Bank-funded NMMP Phase 2 in order to undertake a comprehensive review of the procurement criteria to prioritize local manufacturing and assembly. The Senate also mandated TCN and NERC to look towards the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) intervention funds or engage the African Export-Import Bank (AFREXIM). This followed a motion sponsored by Senator Victor Ume, Anambra Central, on the urgent need to protect local meter manufacturers in the ongoing national mass metering program of the federal government. Ume had said that the duty of industry procurement regulators in every developing economy, first and foremost, is to protect its local manufacturers and would only try to augment importation of goods and services where there is a clear-cut gap between local production and consumption.
Urgent need to protect local meter manufacturers in the ongoing national mass metering program of the federal government. Concerned that if the federal government and other stakeholders do not make urgent intervention, and indeed this Senate, the ongoing World Bank-funded National Mass Metering Program Phase 2 would ultimately encourage foreign company participation, loss of jobs and funds to the detriment of local manufacturers and causing economic retrogression.
While supporting the motion, other lawmakers noted that things should be done in line with the local content and backward integration policy that catalyzes local capacity building, employment generation, and economic growth for Nigeria.
Until when we empower our own local ones, we have for a very long time have manufacturers of meter in Nigeria. There was one in Zaria, which I know very well. Today they are not functioning. They used to employ over 1,000 people working. They work 24 hours round the clock. Today, they are no more. And we are encouraging where we take loan from World Bank. When the money comes, we take it to China and they empower them. So I think there's no better time that this motion will work than now, when the power sector is working on how to see that every household has a meter.
So the truth is that time has come for us to start growing our local manufacturers, our local contractors. All across, we take loans from China, we take from the World Bank, we take from everywhere, and then they insist that we must use their contractors and their manufacturers. That does not help us to grow.
The upper chamber urged the executive to immediately suspend the TCN tender for World Bank-funded NMMP Phase 2 in order to undertake comprehensive review of the procurement criteria to prioritize local manufacturing and assembling in line with local content and backward integration policy that catalyzes local capacity building, employment generation, and economic growth for Nigeria.
To immediately suspend the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, tender for World Bank-funded NMMP Phase 2 in order to undertake comprehensive review of the procurement criteria to prioritize local manufacturing and assembling in line with local content and backward integration policy that catalyzes local capacity building, employment generation, and economic growth for Nigeria. And for this prayer one, those who are in support of prayer one say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
In another development, the Nigeria Labour Congress NLC has accused the courts in the country of being responsible for the present sufferings, hardships and underdevelopment the citizenry are experiencing currently. NLC also urged Nigerians to disregard the alleged state-sponsored rallies aimed at enslaving workers, stressing that the rallies are clear reminders of the youth earnestly asking for a bunch of movement days that forced them to reminisce the days of the bespectacled dictator that ran roughshod over the nation and trampled upon all down democratic and civil rights of the citizens and workers. President of the NLC, Comrade Joe Ajaero, who stated this in his address at the closing ceremony of the 2023 Rain School of the Congress in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State, told workers to be battle ready and brace for another round of struggle for the emancipation of the people and the workers. He said that the earlier nationwide action organized by Labour over the removal of fuel subsidy was allegedly sabotaged by an abnormal injunction procured and served on NLC in unholy circumstances from the courts by the government. In a related development, the Trade Union Congress TUC has appealed to the federal government to urgently provide genuine palliatives, stating that Nigerian workers are facing the worst moments in their lives and now go to work on empty stomach. Kogi State Chairman of TUC Sule Ahmed Tijani made the appeal during an interview with newsmen today. Tijani, while lamenting the poor state of workers due to fuel subsidy removal, said Nigerians can no longer bear the hike in prices of transportation and foodstuff in the country, adding that workers are losing their lives and loved ones due to the untold hardships they face. He berated the government for failing to put in place reasonable measures to cushion the hardship Nigerians are currently experiencing. On electoral matters now, the Independent National Electoral Commission has said it plans to review its result management system following Nigerians' complaints about the 2023 general elections. The Commission said its result management system had been a subject of litigation. The INEC Chairman, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, said this during the post-election review meeting with collation and returning officers in Abuja. He stated that the Commission would assess its strengths and weaknesses so that the result management system could be improved. Moving on now to the judiciary, where the suspended governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Godwin Emefiele, will on July 25 appear before the Lagos Division of the Federal High Court. The embattled CBN boss, who has been in custody of the Department of State Services DSS, is billed to enter his plea before Justice Nicholas Owebo following allegations the Department of State Services DSS leveled against him. It would be recalled that operatives of the security agency had on June 10 stormed Emefiele's Ikoyi residence in Lagos on a day after he was suspended as the governor of the CBN by President Bola Tinubu. He was arrested and had since then remained in custody, with the DSS maintaining that his detention was based on the order of an Abuja Chief Magistrate Court. However, a consortium of human rights lawyers led by Maxwell Okpara and Ahmed Tijani faulted his continued detention, even as they accused the DSS of acting in breach of subsisting court judgments. Meanwhile, lawyers, litigants and journalists were ordered to vacate the courtroom of the Federal High Court Abuja, where the trial of Tukura Mamu was held. When the matter was called today, counsel from the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation, AGF, who is prosecuting the case on the federal government's behalf, David Kaswe, told the court that their witnesses were in court for the trial. Kaswe then urged Justice Ian Akwo to enforce the order earlier granted for all parties in this. The development was, however, contrary to the application by the prosecution that accredited journalists at the Federal High Court should be allowed to observe proceedings in the trial. It would be recalled that Justice Ekwo had on Wednesday granted an application by the federal government to protect witnesses lined up in the prosecution of Mamu, who is being tried over his alleged relationship with terrorists that were involved in last year's attack on a Kaduna-bound train. The judge granted the application following an ex parte motion moved by Kaswe to the effect. In the meantime, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, today arraigned a former Minister of Aviation, Senator Stella Odua, before the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja on a 25-count charge. Odua, who served as Aviation Minister for 2011 through 2014, is facing trial over an allegation that she laundered public funds to the tune of about 7.9 billion naira in connivance with 8 others. Other defendants in the charge are Gloria Odita, Nwosu Emmanuel Namdi, Chukuma Irene Chinyere, Global Offshore and Marine Limited, Tip Top Global Resources Limited, Crystal Television Limited, and Sabora International Limited. However, the defendants, who were docked before trial Justice Iyako, pleaded not guilty to the charge when it was read to them in the open court. The anti-graft agency, among other things, alleged that Odua, who also represented Anambra North in the Senate, and Odita, who was identified as her aide and the company secretary to Sea Petroleum and Gas Company Limited, had in February 2014 used their positions to transfer the sum of 1.6 billion naira from INEC Security Nigeria Limited account number 202-175-6955 with First Bank PLC to Global Offshore and Marine Limited account number, also domiciled with First Bank PLC, which money they reasonably ought to have known that it formed part of the proceeds of an unlawful act. After security matters now, with the Chief of Air Staff, Air Vice Marshal Hassan Abubakar has disclosed that the Nigerian Air Force NAF is expecting 51 additional platforms to boost counter-insurgency and counter-terrorism operations in the country. The CAS stated this while addressing officers and men during his maiden operational tour of NAF units in Makurdi, Benue State. He noted that the acquisition of additional platforms would bolster training, air power employment and projection. According to the CAS, the platforms are expected to include 2 Augusta 109 Trekker multi-role helicopters, 2 Beechcraft King Air 360, 3 Diamond DA-62 surveillance aircraft, and 6 T-129 attack helicopters. Other pending acquisitions include 2 CASA 295 medium airlift surveillance aircraft, 12 AH-1Z attack helicopters, and 24 M346 attack aircraft. Still on security, the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps NSCDC Kano State Command has arrested 4 persons in connection with the theft of a motorcycle at Dawakin Kudu local government area of the state. Briefing newsmen on the incident today, the spokesman of the Kano Command, DSC Ibrahim Idris Abdullahi, said based on a complaint put before them by the owner of the motorcycle, a swift investigation led to the arrest of the 4 suspects. The principal suspect, Noura Mohammed, also fingered the 3 other suspects in persons of Usman Ayuba, Umar Usman, and Nazifi Ibrahim, who are cooperating with the command in its investigations. Meanwhile, the Kano State government has ordered the immediate suspension of 3 principals of public secondary schools for dereliction of duty. The State Director of Public Enlightenment, Ministry of Education, Amin Yasa, confirmed the development in a statement today. The schools affected included Government Girls Secondary School, Dawano, Government Girls Secondary School, Kwa, and Government Arabic Secondary School, Dawano, all in the Dawakin Tofa local government area of the state. According to ESR, the State Commissioner for Education, Omar Daguwa, announced the suspension shortly after visiting the schools between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. today and discovered that the affected principals had yet to report to their duty posts. To Bauchi State now, where the State Local Government Service Commission has sacked 6 traditional rulers for allegedly dabbling in partisan politics. Reports say the affected traditional rulers are from Bauchi and the Katagum Emirates of the state. This was disclosed in a statement by the Acting Permanent Secretary, Bauchi State Local Government Service Commission, Nasiru Dewu. The dismissed traditional rulers were directed to hand over the affairs of their respective domains to their secretaries. Dewu said the 2 emirate councils had been ordered to appoint overseeing officers for the affected domains, pending the appointment of substantive traditional rulers by the Commission. In another development, Katsina State Governor Diko Maru Rada has introduced 4 executive bills to the State House of Assembly as part of his administration's efforts to reposition the state. The Chief Press Secretary to the Governor, Ibrahim Kaula Mohammed, said the bills and amendments underscore the governor's unwavering commitment to advancing the state's development and creating a conducive environment for growth and progress. The 4 executive bills and amendments proposed by Governor Rada include a bill to establish the Katsina Community Watch Corps. The bill aims to enhance the security and safety of communities across Katsina State by establishing a vigilant and community-oriented watch corps. The proposed corps will collaborate with existing security agencies to bolster efforts in combating crime and ensuring peace and stability in the state. In a separate development, Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State has forwarded a list of 9 commissioner nominees to the State House of Assembly. Makinde sent the list to the lawmakers for screening and approval. Deputy Speaker of the State House of Assembly, Mohammed Fadei, disclosed this today during plenary. Fadei, who read the list, named Abiodun Aikomo, Shegun Olayiwola Wasiu Olatunbosun, Professor Abdul Wahid Soliu, and Mojid Mobojumbola as some of the nominees. Others are Olasunkami, Olaleye, Williams Akin, Fumilayo, Prince Dotun Oyelade, and Obafemi Ademola Ojo. He added that the nominees are expected to appear before the lawmakers for screening on Tuesday, 25th July. Back here, following the presentation of the list of the commissioners and special advisor nominees to the Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly for screening and confirmation, Akwa Ibom State Governor Pastor Moino says the list consists of those tested and trusted to deliver on the mandate given to him by the Akwa Ibom people. Governor Eno gave the explanation at the Victor Otta International Airport, Uyo, shortly after his arrival from an official engagement outside the state, allaying worries on his choice of lieutenants. The governor explained that while he would have to test the new hands before bringing them on board, it would not be fair to abandon those who supported and worked for his emergence. According to him, it was expedient that those who worked hard to interpret the vision of the immediate past administration should be given a chance to equally contribute to the success of the present administration. While stating that the nominees are in a better position to interpret and carry out the Arise agenda of his administration, Government House correspondent Jane Owa reports that the governor further urged the people to judge his decisions by the results and allow him choose those he knows will work to deliver his promises to Akwa Ibom people. In the meantime, Akwa Ibom State Governor Pastor Moino has reiterated his administration's commitment to agricultural revolution as encapsulated in his Arise agenda. Speaking at the greenhouse during an inspection with foreign investors, the governor said his investment in agriculture is one sure way of boosting the state's economy and ensuring food sufficiency. He therefore expressed confidence in the expertise of the Turkish investors headed by the chairman of DECRY Group's Mehmet DECRY. Government House correspondent Jane Owa again reports that in his remarks, the CEO of DECRY Group, who had judged the state as a viable land for agriculture, said his company will utilize the opportunity afforded it by Akwa Ibom State government to add value to the well-being of the people through agriculture. Meanwhile, Electricity Consumers Forum Akwa Ibom State has called on the state government to guarantee the supply of meters to consumers by putting modalities in place to pay up for and recoup the monies back from consumers through the recharge process. They made the call while speaking with our correspondent Esther Otoyo on consumers' rights and obligations. She completes the story.
The Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, has been empowered by the Electric Power Sector Reform EPSR Act 2005 to ensure an efficiently managed electricity supply industry that meets the desires of Nigerians for stable, adequate and safe electricity supply. The Act also mandates the Commission to ensure that electricity operators recover cost on prudent investment and provide quality services to customers. But some consumers of electricity have complained of outrageous bills, popularly called estimated bills, by the power distribution company, describing it as illegal.
Usually, if you don't pay your bills, they'll come and disconnect you, take away your wires. And I knew that was wrong, because there are regulations on what they should do when a customer does not pay his bills. There are regulations. Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission has rules for that. And then for estimated bills, there are also regulations that must be complied with before they issue you with estimated bills.
We in Afalbe were paying 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, which was understood. But suddenly, our bills rose from 6 to 11,000. I'm talking about mine specifically. I live in a 3-bedroom apartment. Rose from 6 to 11, then to 16, then to 26. Then suddenly from 26,000, my monthly bill became 73,000. From 73,000, as I speak with you, the last bill I was given is 320,000. I don't understand. What I came here to complain is I don't understand the basis, the format, the calculation, because I asked PhD, is it that the electricity, the power they supply to Afalbe changed? Did it increase?
So I've written to them a petition. I've done everything. I've been paying regularly. No doubt I've been paying regularly. And they have not given me meter. So it is a problem to me right now. It's a serious problem. But I feel what I pay as estimated billing is more than if I were given a prepaid meter.
Meanwhile, Barrister Clifford Thomas, a legal practitioner, has disagreed with the plans of the power distribution companies to increase electricity tariff and called on the federal and state governments to provide prepaid meters for all consumers of electricity.
We condemn the proposed increment in electricity tariff for Nigeria. Subsidy has never existed in the electricity sector. Rather, what we have had is corruption. A lot of people believe that you cannot sue PHED. You can sue PHED and win.
In Uyo, Esther Otoyo, Spectrum News.
Still to come in the news. Wheat set to surge 10%. To stay with us. Many thanks for staying tuned. Now to Africa, where Guinness World Records GWR is urging Africans to emulate Nigerians in their pursuit of breaking records. GWR's editor-in-chief, Greg Glanday, told newsmen that his organization has received 1,572 applications from Nigerians for record attempts since Chef Hilda hit the headlines. Speaking further, Glanday said he loves to see people passionate about record breaking, and he expects more Africans to set records. However, they emphasized the importance of registering their attempts beforehand and adhering to the rules. He added that GWR should be notified first so they can access the record attempt and see if it is measurable and establish the rules, as 95% of record attempts get rejected. Still in Africa, thousands of new Somali refugees are struggling as food insecurity worsens in Kenya's Dadaab refugee camp. Recall that Somalia suffers its worst drought in years, and about 135,000 Somali refugees had fled to Kenya's Dadaab refugee camp, one of the world's largest refugee camps, located 90 kilometers from the Somali border. Speaking with newsmen, the World Food Programme's head of programs at Dadaab, Colin Belletti, said families that used to prepare probably 3 meals a day have now reduced that to preparing either 2 meals or a meal a day. Meanwhile, Kenya's government is now in discussions with the United Nations on how to integrate the hundreds of thousands of refugees into host communities in the future. Meanwhile, the former governor and former rebel leader Mini Arko Minawi renewed his call for civilians in the region to take up arms to defend themselves, saying the current situation necessitates that. He said his administration was leading efforts to stop the fighting between the Rapid Support Forces RSF and the army, particularly in Darfur. Reports say Minawi has made similar remarks in the past, raising fears that Darfur, which is divided into 5 states, could descend into an all-out civil war amid growing ethnic tensions. In the meantime, teachers in Guinea-Bissau are fighting back against the government order this week to suspend their salaries. It is unclear when the suspension will take effect, but once in place, some 8,000 teachers may be affected. The authorities have said the decision would enable an audit of those employed by the Education Ministry and weed out so-called ghost workers, people who are getting paid but do not actually exist. The president of Teaching Union Common Front, Seni Jazi, told newsmen that the union will activate every legal mechanism to deal with the illegal measure. Elsewhere, Kenyan police clashed with stone-throwing demonstrators in a Nairobi slum today for a 3rd consecutive day, firing tear gas and rubber bullets amid mounting calls for dialogue between the government and the opposition. Veteran opposition leader Raila Odinga called for 3 days of demonstrations this week, but appetite for the protests had largely waned by Thursday in most of the country, with schools and shops reopening in Nairobi's Kibera slum. An opposition stronghold running battles erupted today between police and protesters carrying rocks and crude weapons, while some demonstrators also set fire to tires and used them as barricades. Reports say protesters threw rocks in the direction of police on the 3rd day of confrontations between authorities and supporters of the Kenyan opposition during anti-government protests in Kibera, Nairobi today. On the foreign scene now, Middle East powerhouses Saudi Arabia and Iran have summoned Swedish diplomats to denounce Stockholm's permission for protests that desecrate the Quran on free speech grounds. Separate moves by both majority Muslim countries announced in statements came amid heightened tensions between Sweden and Iraq over a Sweden-based Iraqi refugee who last month burnt pages of the Muslim religious text outside Stockholm's main mosque. In the latest such incident on Thursday, the refugee Salwan Momika stepped on the Quran but did not burn it, triggering renewed condemnations and calls for protests across the Muslim world. So on the foreign scene, Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky today dismissed the country's ambassador to the United Kingdom, Vadim Prystaiko, after he criticized the president's response to a row over British military aid. Prystaiko had criticized Zelensky's sarcastic response to suggestions from British Defense Minister Ben Wallace that Ukraine should show more gratitude for arms supplies from its allies. Zelensky signed a decree dismissing Prystaiko, published on the presidential website. It did not provide a reason, but the row began when Wallace told journalists at a NATO summit in Vilnius this month that Britain was not an Amazon delivery service for weapons to Ukraine and suggested Kiev could express more gratitude. The UK is a major donor of weapons to Ukraine and also trains its troops. Zelensky responded at a press conference at the summit, saying he did not know how else to make clear Ukraine's. On the foreign scene now, more on the foreign scene, the U.S. is sending additional warships and thousands of Marines to the Middle East to increase security in the wake of Iranian attempts to seize commercial ships there. According to U.S. officials, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin approved the deployment of the USS Baton Amphibious Readiness Group and the 26th Marine Expeditionary Unit to the Gulf region. The Readiness Group consists of 3 ships, including the Baton, an amphibious assault ship, and expeditionary units usually consists of about 2,500 Marines. In an announcement, U.S. Central Command said the deployment will provide even greater flexibility and maritime capability in the region. Still in the foreign scene, the White House has confirmed that Ukraine is using U.S. cluster bombs against Russian forces in the country. National Security spokesman John Kirby said initial feedback suggested they were being used effectively on Russian defensive positions and operations. Reports say cluster bombs scatter multiple bomblets and are banned by more than 100 states due to their threat to civilians. The U.S. allegedly agreed to supply them to boost Ukrainian ammunition supplies, as Ukraine has promised the bombs will only be used to dislodge concentrations of Russian enemy soldiers. And now it's time for the latest business and stock market stories. Here is Blessing Dixon.
Thank you, Xavier Robert. Good evening. It's the last trading day of the week. My name is Blessing Dixon. In the news, with prices hit $7.2 per bushel today, holding near the 4-week high of $7.3, setting up a near 10% surge on the week, as renewed geopolitical tensions consolidated concerns that Ukraine will not be able to export grains through the Black Sea for the remainder of the ongoing war. Russian forces extended their attacks on grain silos and port infrastructure in Odessa, destroying key machinery and stockpiles. The strikes were shortly after Moscow ended the deal that kept Ukrainian grain exports flowing safely through the Black Sea, marking an end to the year-long scheme that linked with supply from one of the world's top producers just before this year's harvest. Nigeria's foreign reserves slumped to 2-year low. Foreign exchange scarcity will persist in Nigeria, according to reports, as the country's external reserves fell to the lowest level since August 2021. CBN reported that Nigeria's foreign reserves fell to $33.9 billion on Wednesday, July 19th, below the $35.14 billion reported on May 26, 3 days before the former President Muhammadu Buhari left office. The international reserves have been dwindling under President Bola Tinubu amid exchange reforms meant to strengthen the naira against the dollar. Since he took over office, the external reserves went down by 3.32%. The House of Representatives has set up an ad hoc committee to investigate the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) over its use of excess crude accounts for investment. CBN was accused of depositing $1.829 million as interest on investment in the excess crude account without releasing details relating to the investment principal. According to the Labour Party lawmaker from Edo, Dosa Iyawe, the Auditor General of the Federation requested the details of the investment and utilization of funds from the Petroleum Profit Tax PPT, royalty, and foreign excess crude account. However, the Auditor General revealed CBN's non-disclosure in an annual report in 2015. The lawmaker who moved the motion for CBN to be probed said, due to the Apex Bank withholding information, the federal government is unable to prevent revenue leakage, raise turnover, as well as fight corruption. It's time for the Nigerian stock market report. Bank stocks dominate trading. Bourse gains 584 billion naira. Nigerian bank stocks dominated trading today as the value of shares traded on the floor of UBA, Axis Corporation, Zenith Bank, and Guarantee Trust Holdings crossed the billion naira mark. Amid the rush for bank stocks, the bourse appreciated by 1.67% or 584.08 billion naira, pushing the stock market capitalization up from 34.81 trillion naira to 35.39 trillion naira. The all-share index rose to 65,003.39 points, an increase of 1,072.67 basis points. About 770.79 million shares were traded in 8,915 deals, valued at 14.26 billion naira. Guarantee Trust Holdings topped the gainers list after value rose by 3 naira 50 kobo to end trading at 38 naira 50 kobo from 35 naira per share. Academy topped the losers table after shedding 24 kobo to drop at 2 naira 43 kobo to 2 naira 19 kobo per share. UBA led the day's trading with 111.2 million traded shares valued at 1.4 billion naira. This is all in business news. Back to Xavier Robert for the rest of the news.
Many thanks, Blessing. Still to come in the news. Max Verstappen gives hope to rivals after coming 11th in Formula One. To stay with us. Many thanks for staying tuned. Now in health, the Association of Resident Doctors, University College Ibadan, Oyo State has embarked on a 3-week warning strike to press home their demands for improved welfare packages and other issues presented to the hospital management, rising from an emergency meeting summoned to further assess the situation after the expiration of a 2-week ultimatum earlier issued to the management. The doctors were dissatisfied that all the issues raised were not attended to, thus necessitating the industrial action. The association stated that it is basing its demands on the unsatisfactory progress made so far in the IPIS capturing newly employed resident doctors. Still in health, the Kaduna State Ministry of Health has linked the deaths of 10 children in some communities in Kafanchan, Jamar local government area of the state to an outbreak of diphtheria disease. The state governor, Uba Sani, in a statement by his chief press secretary, Mohammed Shehu, directed the emergency health team to immediately investigate the matter, which was later confirmed to be diphtheria. Reports say the confirmation came after several reports were made about residents in Takao Ward, Kafanchan, and Kafanchan A and Kafanchan B wards exhibiting symptoms listed as difficulty in breathing, high fever, cough, general body weakness, sore throat, and neck swelling. Meanwhile, the governor commended the health officials for their prompt response to the health emergency and urged them to continue to carry out their tasks diligently to ensure that the disease is contained and subsequently eradicated. Let's head over now to stories.
Thank you, Savio. Good evening. It is the Sports Desk. I am Blyden Ukem. We begin with Formula One, the Hungarian Grand Prix practice. Max Verstappen handed his rivals the slimmest of hopes that he could be beaten at Sunday's Hungarian Grand Prix after he finished only 11th in practice. The dominant Dutchman, who has won 8 of the 10 rounds so far and 6 in succession to establish a 99 points lead in the standings, has mastered all conditions this season. But Verstappen unusually ended the sole dry running here 6/10 back from Ferrari's Charles Leclerc, with McLaren's Lando Norris fresh from his impressive second place at the British Grand Prix, 0.015 seconds adrift the Scarlet car. Lewis Hamilton was 16th with Mercedes and the teammate George Russell 20th. In football, the Super Falcons goalie Chiamaka Nnadozie was named Player of the Match for her impressive performance against Canada in a goalless draw this morning in Melbourne. It was the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup Group B opener. Nnadozie was the stand-in captain for the side in the absence of the team's captain, Onomebi. Nnadozie put up a 5-star display and saved 2 penalty kicks taken by Canadian captain, 40-year-old Christine Sinclair. The Super Falcons earned a point in their 3rd meeting with the Olympic champions Canada at the Senior Women's World Cup. After 3 encounters, the Falcons are yet to lose to Canada. The Nigerian team had drawn twice and won a match against Canada in their head-to-head. Up next would be against co-host Australia, who defeated debutant Republic of Ireland 1-0 to top Group B. The match takes place at the Suncorp Stadium on Thursday, 27th July 2023. Former Barcelona striker Samuel Eto'o has been accused of match fixing in Cameroon. Who is the president of Cameroonian Football Federation, FECAFOOT, allegedly promised to promote 2nd Division club Victoria United by manipulating matches. Victoria United ended up getting promoted, with the federation ruling that the previous season's runner-up Stade de Batois was ineligible. Recordings reportedly emerged in which Eto'o told Victoria's president Valentin Guan that he would help the team get promoted by manipulating referees. Eto'o said, and I quote, "There are things we can do, but you have to be very discreet, brother." This is all on sports news. Over to Simon Oko for entertainment news. Thank you, Savio.
Thank you. In entertainment news, Big Brother Naija Season 5 winner Olamilekon Lekan Agbeleshe has bagged his master's degree from the University of Portsmouth. The reality TV star took to his verified Instagram account to celebrate his feat and was overwhelmed with congratulatory messages from his fans and well-wishers. He announced his accomplishments in obtaining his master's degree in the field of international relations. In the video posted to his page, a very happy Lekan is seen walking across the stage when called to receive his accolades, his graduation gown swaying as he struts and takes his cap off. The rapper in his caption celebrated himself and expressed gratitude to his supporters. Away from that, sensational Nigerian singer and songwriter Daniel Benson, popularly known as Benson, formerly known as Buju, has expressed his conviction that he would win the world's most prestigious music award, Grammy, in the nearest future. The Afrobeat superstar said he is shifting his attention to attaining legendary status in the Nigerian music industry. Benson covered Teens Vogue's African New Wave alongside Ira Star and Victoni. The finesse crooner said, with or without a Grammy, he hopes to become a music legend. Moving forward, award-winning Nigerian singer Simisola Kosoko, popularly known as Simi, has revealed that she used to be paid as low as 5,000 to 10,000 naira as performance fee when she was a gospel artist. She said the highest she was ever paid then was 70,000 naira. She said at some point she stopped singing because she wasn't making enough money from gospel music to pay for studio sessions and promotions. Simi said because of lack of finances, she got signed to a record label that she regretted signing for till today. The mother of one said she later switched to secular music because of the challenges she encountered in the gospel music industry.
I actually used to go to like a lot of churches to perform. They would pay me like 5K, 10K though.
What?
Yes.
But that time 5K was not bad, not like now.
It was bad. Although, you know the highest amount of money I actually collected when I was in hospital?
What?
70,000 naira. And I felt like...
I'm arrived.
Less.
How much time did you pay?
10% now. But I got signed to some record label that I regret till this day. And I was there for like 4 years. I waited it out, and then I got signed to extreme music. By that time, I had switched to, secular music.
Away from that, Afrobeat singer David Adeleke, popularly known as Davido, has announced that he recently disbursed 237 million to 424 orphanages across the country through the David Adeleke Foundation, DAF. Announcing this via his Twitter handle on Thursday, Davido said individuals and corporations across various sectors and regions contributed to the donation. According to the press statement attached to his tweet, a total of 13,818 children benefited from the donation. Recall that Davido donated 250 million naira to 292 orphanages in Nigeria last year, fulfilling the promise he made on his birthday in 2021. Let's take a move into the international scene. American pop star Ariana Grande is reportedly already seeing someone else barely months after her split from her husband. According to reports, the singer is dating her co-star from the set of the musical Wicked. They say that their sources with direct knowledge state that she and Ethan Slater, who plays Buck in the film adaptation of the Broadway musical, started dating several months ago during the production of the movie. Ethan is a Tony Award-nominated actor, singer, composer, and writer who also recently separated from his wife, Lily. Even though Ariana's divorce from Dalton is yet to be finalized, the two have started dating other people and remain on good terms. The news that the singer had separated from her husband was headlined earlier this week after TMZ broke it, stating that they were headed towards divorce. According to the reports, the two split up because Dalton was unaware of the extent of Grande's popularity and was having trouble adjusting. And that's it on entertainment news. My name is Simon Oko. Back to the news.
That's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. You've been watching Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert. Wishing you a terrific night rest. Happy weekend.